Welcome to the podcast. We got the one, the only, the infamous / famous Mikey Lucas. Good to have you, bro. Thanks for coming on.
Good to see you, man.
How you feeling?
Feel amazing.
Yeah, I know things have been different, bro. I know you're like basically a billionaire now, so I like it's cool to connect and we go way back, so that energy is childhood like.
Yeah.
So
I always tell people that I'm a billionaire. They just haven't paid me yet.
It's pending transaction, bro.
I don't know. Why would you not, though? Why
account.
would you not pretend that you are one? And then when you get there, it's like that way, it's what Jim Rohn says. Like,
Yeah, act as if, right? Like,
best you become a millionaire. So when if you're not one, when you get there, you lose everything.
yeah,
so I'm
you have
learning how to have billionaire patience, billionaire understanding, billionaire wisdom.
Billionaire in the making.
Yeah.
Billionaire in the crafting.
Thanks to you, just documenting the whole way through.
Just the last few years, bro. You got a new guy, or who's been doing your shit?
Yeah. So I've got a local dude there that just films for me, and then they edit it and same stuff.
Yeah, it looks good.
Yeah.
It looks
I'm trying. It's not Pathfinders, but
it's dope.
It's working for now.
Yeah. We had to level up the editing game and all that too. Just keep up
the
with
AI
the market.
stuff is crazy. Like I can't even imagine what you guys are doing now. Oh my god.
After Effects, bro. It's just like another layer of the edit. So it's just like the footage looking good like this is like the baseline.
Yeah.
And then After Effects.
This is dope, by the way.
Thanks, man.
I really like this.
It's not too bad, right? Sound panels, got the sound rug.
Oh.
Cool little space. But yeah, man. I mean, it's I don't know how I'm new at the podcast. You have a podcast yourself, Roll the Golden Door. I don't know how you segue it, but I'm learning to segue topics and stuff like that. So
I just genuinely ask questions that I really want to know.
I fucking know you really well. So, okay, I got a question. So we talked briefly on the phone. You said 2023 was amazing. I know literally a handful of my clients went bankrupt. A lot of the people close to me and like just business owners I know felt a lot of pressure this year, including myself. We did probably about half the revenue we did last year, which didn't feel good. Which thankfully is still a significant amount that like I used to pray for, but it felt like pressure this year. So you mentioned to me you had a fantastic 2023. So what did you do different that like all of us didn't do?
Nothing.
The same old?
Yeah, same.
Kept grinding?
No, yeah, just one foot in front of the other, day after day. I guess the only difference is I added on another coach. Maybe.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, so I'm as you know, but there's not a secret sauce to this. It's just that I stayed consistent. I'm the Steady Eddie guy.
Steady Eddie.
The Sexy Steve is great, but Steady Eddie, it's like when I knocked on doors, it was 52 doors every single day. Like
53?
52, yeah.
52?
Just knock 52 doors every day, like just consistently knock until obviously I was running multiple teams and I wasn't knocking 52 every day, but you get the point. Until I get there. So it's the same thing for me. I learned from some guys that are multi-millionaires and billionaires now that they just say, this is exactly what you need to do. And I go, okay. Like, I don't ask questions. It's the same thing.
What do you do?
You got to get into the DMs. You got to get into the DMs. You need to be sending out a minimum of 3 new DMs a day.
Just like outreach?
Outreach to new people every single day, which is what I do. And then
But you've been doing that for years.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. Nothing's changed.
Steady Eddie?
It's just that now things have the consistency of me doing that as people start to notice more. And I think I transition. I'm like the guy that goes and sells life insurance. I go from door-to-door sales for 10 years, do really, really well, and then now I'm like I'm selling life insurance or real estate or whatever. Like, oh yeah, we'll see how he goes. So nobody really wants to buy from me in your first year anyway. So I just did my very best to become an expert in the field. Did just like what I did in solar. I read every single private equity fund manager's PPM, their websites, frequently asked questions, and just studied. Barnes & Noble, Amazon, every freaking book I could find on oil and gas.
Just oil and gas or both, like private equity? Have you read the Private Equity Playbook?
I have not yet, no. That's a good book, though.
It's a good one. That's the only one I've read.
I've seen it, but I haven't read it yet. It was the oil and gas stuff that I needed to learn first. Now I'm getting more into private equity. I'm studying for my Series 65, so I'll be a licensed financial consultant here shortly in the next month or so. But no, it's just been, I had to learn the product itself. It's like learning solar.
Right.
I had to learn oil and gas, upstream, midstream, and upstream and midstream, not downstream, but upstream, midstream, oil and gas wells and pipelines was what I needed to become an expert in, and like as quickly as I possibly could. So that's all I did.
Yeah.
Just repeat those books and those webinars all over and over and over again, and then just posted about it as if I was an expert. And as you know, I mean, I've raised
expert.
millions of dollars now from it, and from podcasts and just posting on the internet. I mean, it's not, your next post is your best post kind of concept, and it's like
that's it.
these guys got to they got to see that you're continually doing it, and I post minimum of one, if not 2 to 3 times a day, throughout on each platform.
Are you hitting LinkedIn too?
Hitting LinkedIn, yeah. Yeah, not as hard, but I started. That's one downside is that I wish I would have done LinkedIn 5-6 years ago.
Yeah.
I paid $15,000 for an international credibility coach
That's
to help me build up my LinkedIn and make my LinkedIn look like I was credible, because I knew I'm credible, but I'm like, I apparently LinkedIn is like the private equity, and LinkedIn and X is the big for private equity guys and people. So for me it's Instagram.
Are you using Twitter like that, like X or whatever now? You have to.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I like it. I actually post my entire podcast on there now.
Nice.
Yeah, I
Full,
still
like the full episode, just like straight to watch it.
Yep.
No link, click to YouTube.
Nope, straight link.
There you go. That's sick.
Yeah.
So
we're not doing anything different. I'm just
same old.
No,
Steady
dude,
Eddie.
I'm just
What's
staying
Sexy
the same.
Steve like?
Like we already all know, right?
I don't know.
Just
That's
the guys. I guess the guys that they make a bunch of money, and instead of taking the money and allocating it out into 8 or 10 different allocations, they spend the majority of it on a new watch, a new car, new vacations, and all that stuff, and then they the momentum cycles. And me, I'm just trying to stay at a steady pace, and it doesn't matter. Like I might not raise $100 billion in the next 10 years, but I will raise $100 billion in the next 20 years.
100 million, 20 years? That's a long time, bro.
100 billion.
2 years.
Yeah.
100 billion?
Yeah.
I thought you said million. 100
No,
million
100
is
billion.
not that serious.
Yeah.
$200 billion. I don't even know what that looks like. That's like Jeff Bezos. That's Elon Musk net worth.
Yeah.
So how do you get to $200 billion?
The money's there. It's a lot easier than people think. I mean, people that are watching this show right now, $100,000 harder to get than $100 million.
So that's what I'm transitioning into mentally, as far as like I think I told you about buying 100+ store unit apartments. It's not like
Smart.
Yeah, you know what I mean? It's not really like you have it's a level of the private equity, private lending aspect, and that money, from what I'm the research I'm doing, I haven't gone out and started trying to get it yet, but it's like people with money know what makes sense and what doesn't, and they just want the money to compound. So if you have a solid way to compound it, and it's foolproof, not that every financial is not foolproof, like every opportunity is not foolproof, but there's strong, incentives to do certain things. So that's super interesting that there's a lot of money out there, and it's actually really easy to get. I think that there's a barrier of entries, and that barrier of entry is information and people, a network. It's just the network and the information.
There's $16 billion. It sold a ton of shares this year in 2023, and he's just waiting.
Just to see how it plays out.
Yeah.
Shit's about to... We're going through some shit, and people are not talking about it, but if Warren Buffett... It's an election year, right?
Yeah, I don't know. People, if I always tell people this, and the guys in my mastermind, I go, look, you guys pay for proximity to get as close to the telephone as possible. The game of telephone you played in elementary school.
Right.
Probably kindergarten, first day, everyone played telephone. Johnny threw the ball down the window and broke, the Queenie's house window. And then by the time it's over here, it's and Drew fell off his skateboard and broke his, jaw, all the way around. So you want to get as close to the telephone as possible. And that telephone is where the people that are making the decisions, meaning Larry Fink, the BlackRocks, the Jerome Powell's, those type of people, the Chase banks, right? So you want to get as close to those people as you possibly can, the people that are making the decisions for those guys. And when you get there, you understand where the market's going. And I paid hundreds of thousands of dollars to be in rooms like that. And then, that's why I do my best to say, and, try to be the anti-guru on the internet and tell people, this is what I'm hearing from the mouth of the man themselves.
So then is it your obligation, or whose obligation is it to change the story of Johnny to becoming a skateboard kid? Like, where in the telephone line does that get misconstrued? Is it through the gurus or like?
No, it's
Is it intentional?
It's intentional. Yeah, it's
Right.
definitely intentional. Because I think what people misunderstand about the money game, the art of money, especially in America, for the free economy here, is that we think that we're playing blackjack. We think that we're playing against the government. That's what they've made it kind of seem like. We're playing against our employer, playing against our government, playing against our neighbor. You're not playing against the government. You're playing against the people in the room. We're playing poker. We're not playing blackjack. Right? In blackjack, you play against the casino, and the casino always wins. In poker, you're playing against me, you, and the people sitting on the table with you. So if you don't understand how to play the game, which most people are not educated enough, and they make it hard. They make it hard for us to understand the game. I mean, there's a terminology that there's terminology every single day that I'm learning. I'm like, what the heck does that even mean? But
Like
it's
just a
thrown
word?
around. It's a language. Like private equity is a whole language. And they make it
100%.
like that on purpose. So in other words, when you hear your Uber driver say the housing market's going to crash,
Yeah,
come on.
so that's interesting because like some of the really really high level like Freemason books that I read, it's like the verbiage in which it's written, it's purposely has those type of words as like a barrier of entry, like where you have to go like sagacious or sagacity. Like it's like make sure that whatever you exercise sagacity in making this type of decision, and you're like, what the fuck is sagacity, right? And then you go look it up and it's like to be sagacious, and then it's like, okay, then you got to go look up what is sagacious, and it's like to exercise discernment. So it's like things are written at the highest levels in a code as a barrier of entry, which is just information. So if you start consuming the proper information, you unlock the codes, like you're basically saying, just edifying what you're saying, and through my perspective.
Yeah. I mean, it's the same thing. I'm seeing the same type of snatch or rug pull that is going to happen again in 2008 with people, whether that's through their cryptocurrency, which is happening all the time through scammers taking cryptocurrency from people's
Right.
wallets. I mean, there's going to be a transfer of wealth, and a lot of it's actually going to get stolen.
By the big equity funds, right? Well, actually, I talked to Mickey.
It's not even necessarily big equity funds. It's big countries.
Really?
North Korea, Russia, like all these countries, China.
Well, that's what it talks about
Ukraine,
in the
Turkey.
Ray Dalio book, The Changing World Order. That is like, that book like spooked me, and I was like, yo, I don't know about this shit. I'd rather just not learn about this.
Look too bright, did it?
Not for America.
No, it didn't.
Well, so that's why Judy's parents just moved to Japan, cashed out everything here. Bro, chilling in Japan. The dollar's going way further.
Yeah.
House on the beach, condo in fucking Tokyo. Chilling, bro. Living out the retirement. But Judy's like, what about... I think Japan's a great place to retire. It's clean, it's beautiful,
Yeah, it's
whatever.
really nice, good
But
culture.
I feel like I haven't made my stamp in the world enough to like be content with just take what I got and live off of it, which could happen, but I feel like I still have the desire to be in the game for at least another 10, 20 years, you know what I mean? Like, even if I leave to Japan at 50, like, that's still pretty young to enjoy the last 20, 30, 40 years of your life chilling, you know? So, I don't know.
10 to 15 years really, really hard in the direction of the work, with the work ethic and the guidance that you have and you're going to do. You shouldn't need much more than 12 years, 15 years max.
Right.
To live a life that you would want to live in Japan.
Right. I mean, that's a different life, too. Like,
right?
It's not like you could just fucking drive a Cullinan around in Japan. Like, you know, the roads are too skinny. But that's what I want to do for a little while here, you know?
You want to Cullinan?
Yeah.
What color?
Probably black. Murdered out.
Let's go.
You know, everything I got's murdered out.
Yeah, I want
So,
one white. Everything I got's white.
Really? Yeah, murdered it out.
That's
What
awesome.
about you? What are you about to... Are you still getting the Tesla X Plaid, or did you...
No, I just last week actually. I just declined my third one. So no, I'm gonna get the EQS AMG.
Oh, those are
Like
nice.
the S-Class, electric S-Class Mercedes.
The sedans?
Yeah,
The sedan?
Yeah.
They're all right. They're all right. I think
It's
they're
just
a little
it's
behind.
the oil man's car is the S-Class. So the
But you
S580
can't drive a fucking electric one. They're like
Surely
the oil
I
man
can.
with the
I'm
electric.
Mikey Lucas.
Mikey Lucas
I've
is a
installed
hybrid.
$27 million worth of solar panels, and I'm in oil and gas now.
What's that, like 10 deals? No, I'm just kidding. I'm just
Yeah,
fucking
it's
with
like $700 a watt.
with Kevin Esperanza on your team?
First of all, we capped him.
I'm
He
just
wasn't.
fucking.
No, some of these other guys sell way more than Kevin ever
I'm
did.
just fucking. I'm cool with Kevin. I'm just fucking.
Kevin
trolling.
had to have first year savings for every customer he ever sold.
Okay, I'm just fucking with you, Kevin. I love Kevin. I love Solera. We got deep roots in the solar industry. I was just trolling Mikey Lou.
I know what you mean. These guys we're always trying to make more money.
Yeah.
I was like, you got to get referrals if you want to make more money.
Name of the game. So are you still dealing with like sales reps a lot? Like is that who you like still coach and consult, or like kind of what's your
kind of
day to day look like?
Yeah,
now?
kind of. So I've got I didn't want to leave the industry entirely, so I started a financial mastermind. I started financial coaching individually, where I would go after golden door guys, and they had to make $450,000 or more a year, or hit a golden door to work with me. It was 30 to 60 grand a year to coach. And I'd bring them through like everything, like literally like done for you, done with you. Like I'm gonna go build out your entire financial future plan with them, financial consulting with them, and then it got to time constraint. So like as I was building the fund, I realized like okay, I'm gonna need more time back, and I couldn't. I couldn't. I was I think I was pulling over a little over. It was good money. It was really good money. I had 18 guys I was individually coaching. It was really good money. But then I realized, okay, if I'm going to scale this thing, and I wasn't doing it for the money, but I was like, oh, you know what? Like, what if we do like a mastermind? So I lowered it. So the guys that I was individually coaching, there was a couple guys that still will not leave, which I'm grateful for, obviously, but they won't leave. They want me to continue to coach them, which is fine. But I don't take on new clients right now. I do have a financial mastermind that we had almost 58 guys in this year, and I'll have close to 100 guys in this coming up year, 2024. So that's my right now. That's my only like big. I don't teach sales.
The financial mastermind.
I just teach. Golden Door Family Mastermind. Just teach finances and how to exit in 7 years out of door-to-door sales. So I teach guys how to make $30,000-$40,000 a month in passive income.
So that's like your day to day, and then or the fund, or like kind of.
No, not even. That's a once a week, and then I have a team that communicates with everybody. So I've got some coaches and stuff like that help me out with it, and they know what we want. And honestly, a lot of it's automated, where a lot of the accountability, and then my team. I've got executive assistants, virtual assistants that help really engage with the guys throughout the week. And then throughout the month, so that's like a 3 hour a week kind of thing, maybe an hour and a half to 3 hours a week for me. Not a lot of preparation goes into that, just because I've already built out the strategy, and it's a billionaire profit blueprint where it's like, hey, if you want to become a billionaire, you want to get out of the rat race, do you think?
It's pretty right. Money Master the Game. It's Money Master the Game. Yep. Mikey Lou Blueprint.
Yep.
And as long as you do that,
that's a major. There's 4 books. I mean, literally, people don't need to pay me. I'll give you the 4 books. I literally have read these 4 books over 100 times in total. Profit First, Money Master the Game, Becoming Your Own Banker, and Tax Free Wealth. Those are the 4 books that I literally teach guys through, but I've mastered every one of those books.
Right, you got
and
the
then
systems.
I put them in a digestible. When do I need them, and how much of them do I need for each individual person? Because you're different than every other guy in the group. Some of these guys are making $1 million. Some of these guys are making $200,000, and each one of them has the exact same problem. None of them have a clue what to do with their money, and they don't have time. Right? They don't have time to do due diligence on jobs. So a lot of it we invest together, we do due diligence together, and I show them a lot of the deals that I have. I let them in under the hood and show them bank accounts,
like what you're gonna do and type stuff, like how you're doing it.
Exactly.
That's dope. That's really cool. So what do you do with
we've seen a lot of really good success
the rest of your time? I know you travel a lot for you're at every event I'm at. I don't go to many. I probably hit like 5 a year, 5 or 6, and you're at every single one of them.
Cole Hatter says the more hands you make, the more money. The more hands you shake, the more money you make. So, that's the whole American Energy Fund takes about 30, 40 hours a week, every single week, doing webinars. Building automations, creating new ebooks. I'm writing an investing in oil and gas book right now. So, it's 30, 40 hours a week, every single week for the oil and gas stuff. We travel a lot. We do booths. We go sponsor events. I'll go out and do, group coaching with companies, stuff like that. I'll do Zoom coachings with people, with companies all the time. So, it's a big thing that I want to make sure that people know.
For the fund?
For the fund, yeah. Well, for the fund and the Mikey Lucas brand, so it's both, because a lot of times it's like, hey, I got to teach you how to number one, I got to teach you the roadmap. Number one,
right?
Like, hey, you got to become an accredited investor, and this is what you need.
even deeper than that. It's like how to get money.
Yeah.
Go hire a sales coach because I'm not doing that anymore. If you need to learn how to get money.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not here to help you make money. I'm here to manage it, help you manage it, and how to multiply it and make it matter.
And there you go. So just circling back to the more hands you shake, the more money you make. How many babies do you have to kiss to net $1 million?
Like $1 million, probably.
$1 million, so $1 a baby.
Uh,
It's pretty good. Pretty good
that's
average.
not bad. It's like doors. It's the same thing as doors. Every door pays you $20, $100, $50, whatever your numbers are, and it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Not everyone can. The weird part that I'm realizing that, which is kind of funny. I'm like delusional, I guess, in like a good way, but I'm delusional. I thought everyone, thought about money like I did.
In what regard?
Like when they tell you they have money, that means they have money, and they don't. Most of them. It's really interesting. Like everyone wants the lifestyle that we want,
Right.
but they're not willing to put in the work. It's just very, very interesting, and it's interesting because within my mastermind, the community there, I've wanted to make sure that these guys know we don't have to flex to get respect from people,
Right.
from each other. Like everyone else wants to flex and act like they have all this stuff, and it's like I would just respect you if you just told me you drove a Toyota Corolla,
Right. And
which you used to drive.
Yeah, I did used to drive.
And
a
I'm
Corolla.
like, I respected you more than now you're driving a Tesla. It's the same. It's the same. There's no difference.
Yeah. I think just going back to that or touching base on that is because I interact and network with a lot of high level people, and I don't posture or try to I don't even wear my jewelry a lot of the time, and my chain, I tuck it in nowadays, and it's like the most expensive chain I've ever had. It's like the bigger, the thicker the gold and diamonds got, it was like the more I tuck it in. But people respect you based on who you are and looking at your eyes and not having the fear, being secure in yourself, and just looking at your eyes and offering value and being genuine. High level people will respect you for that. Yeah, you'd be like, I drive a Toyota Corolla, but I'm here, this is what I do, and I want to be of service, and how can I help you? What can I do for you? You need your shoes shined? And you shouldn't even ask. You should be shining the shoe. You know what I mean? And creating the value. You should, in my space, it's not oh, I could do some edits for you. It's do the edits, send them their way, and then be I did these edits. That opens up the response, opposed to because that's what you're saying is people are oh yeah, I got money, and they don't got money, or oh, I have value to add, and they don't have value. Lead with the value, and then whatever you're looking for usually tends to you get the respect at very least, you know what I mean? It's the respect earned. So
Yeah.
I don't know where I was going with that. But now, back to Mikey Lucas's life. So you got a Cullinan, you got the Ghost, you got the Skyline, you got the Cybertruck, you got the fucking Lamborghini yacht. Or no, you sold the yacht and you have the catamaran. So what's next, man? What's next on your desire list? Besides the check mark things.
The big things that I still talk about is I'm not going to stop working like I'm working until every church, orphanage, refugee center, women's shelter, and drug rehabilitation center has solar panels on them.
That's interesting.
Around the world.
Around the world, that's a lot.
Yeah.
So you got quite a mission. You think you'll finish it in this lifetime, or how many lifetimes?
No, my children's children will finish it.
So 3 generations.
I'll do my best to
of
set
lose.
it up so that they can go. I would rather my children, my grandchildren, and my children have something that they don't have to work like I had to work to make it. I would rather them go and work the 60, 70, 80 hours a week doing and making a difference. Not that I wasn't making a difference, because I definitely was. I can't tell you how many still referrals or customers that call me that I put solar panels on that, they're like, oh, Merry Christmas. I just had a client the other day call me and she literally prayed for me in her house to find a wife and all this stuff, and I had to give her the update that I'm married now, and she was like, oh my God, that's amazing. Anyways, I was obviously helping families save money on their power bill, which to me was the most important part. It was the cherry on top was that we were helping the environment, right, and the economy, but really it was helping them get away from Warren Buffett or a publicly traded power company that didn't have their the customers' need in mind.
Whose lives do you think you changed more? The homeowners who saved their money and were able to do stuff for their family, or the sales reps and the people that you've coached and
the sales reps, dude.
Yeah.
Not that $600 a year savings doesn't help somebody, because it does. It really does. And there's a lot of people that I would go in every single time, for the last 4 years that I was in solar, and I would have a way that they would save money on their water bill, power bill, gas bill, and their mortgage.
You're a home improvement fan.
Every single time, especially the mortgage. That was my favorite part. Helping them not put not the 13th payment mortgage, just splitting up their payments and paying it a little bit earlier. They're saving 5, 6, 7, 10 years off their mortgage, and just by paying the exact same amount they are now, not including if they can afford to spend that $600 that they're saving on their power bill to the next year and do stuff like that, and take their money out of the checking account and put it into a high yielding savings account and help them create interest and look at different investing. So there's obviously a lot of the homeowners that I helped out that I really still stay in contact with, that follow me on Instagram, on LinkedIn, and Facebook. On it. It's really cool to see them looking at my stories, and they'll heart, or they'll hell yeah me, or amen me. It's really cool. But no, I think definitely the sales reps and the leaders and the operations people that I worked with, definitely there was more of an impact on their lives, and obviously there was some tension when a lot of it blew up, but now years later, every one of them. There's not one that I know of, other than maybe Cole, which he hopefully watches this, has not
You guys aren't cool?
That has not shown gratitude to me for helping him get out of his deepest, darkest part of his life. But other than that, every single one of them that ever said crap on my name has always come back and been like, dude, thank you, like seriously. And I'm like, dude, no worries. And that's a testament, because the same thing for you. You do the same thing. Like when somebody throws shade on Oscar Cardona, like, or Pathfinders, or your family's name, dude, like, you just take it, bro. You turn the other cheek. You do what Jesus does, bro. And you know what I mean? You do what Jesus does. You do the Jesus principles. You turn the other cheek and you go, hey man, no big deal. Like, and everything will work out the way it's supposed to work out.
Every time.
Years later, it works out.
Yeah. No, going back to like what you're saying is you have a distinct type of leadership that
I'd like to know about what my leadership is. What is my leadership like?
You're a fucking asshole guy.
Good.
But it's out of love. It's out of love. And it really does push you to like become better. And you've changed my life, and you've helped a lot in my career to catapult me to, like, not that I'm anywhere of significance, but like a lot further than I would have been.
Yeah.
You put me in the game in solar, and that's like massive, like market cap as far as like what we do.
Yep. Big time.
You did a ton, bro. Like a ton of referrals. I got to work with all the top guys in solar because of you.
Bunch of golden door dudes. Made them famous, bro.
Bro.
Helped them recruit and grow their companies, dude.
Dude, and another thing
That's
too
awesome.
is that like
you did that.
No, you did that.
But I wouldn't have been able to help them. We were a team, bro. Like, I looked at it like we were a team.
Yeah.
Right? You were a separate entity to me, but like I only could add as much value as I could add. But the people that I brought in, like you, helped them go from all these companies to X, Y, and Z.
And if your like method wasn't tried and true and proven, like Daniel Hodibus, I tell his story like I told it on the podcast or whatever, but he did the Mikey Lucas, and he still does the Mikey Lucas blueprint. Like the training that so does all these other guys, Kevin, Danny, they all do the same Slack. They run the Mikey Lucas training, bro. Like the program, like they do the fucking exact pitch, the exact numbers, and then and it's funny. I know why you're laughing, but they do, and it works. And so if the Mikey Lou program wasn't successful, then
I wouldn't be here if it wasn't successful. And I'm not smart. I just took it from guys that were significantly smarter than me and did what they told me to do, is go teach it to everybody else. Because it's true. It works.
So let's pivot a bit. How do you feel about Jesus being a Jew?
What about it?
How do you feel?
Yeah, he was born a Jew and still is a Jew.
He's Jewish.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to, we're like, cool, so I feel like I could go into this with you, and I don't really care about how you're going to feel because we're cool. But I know you feel strongly about this, so it'd be cool to dissect it and kind of get into your thoughts. So this is my take on religion and or God. I think that we are all God. Like, right, so if you take Jesus's teachings, like, you're the Father that dwelleth within me, or whatever does it, whatever the quote is, or the Bible verse. So basically, he's the Son of God, right? Like according to the tale. But so is everybody else. You're the Son of God. I'm the Son of God. We're all sons of God, and we all have the equal power to be able to create and do the things that Jesus did if we did the things that he did, right? Like same like.
That's what he says. He says these works that you see that I do. When you get the Spirit, you will do greater than
So
what,
we
than what I see.
all have the same power, right? So I think that going back to that, also, like I was talking with Judy this morning, is Jesus was Jewish, and he cultivated all the information and all his power based on like Jewish teachings and principles. So like I like,
Because they are true from the beginning and they're true now.
and then Jesus just like elaborated on him, and then there was like the New Testament or
Sure.
whatever, right? And so I think,
Well, it was the law. It was showing that the law was unable to be fulfilled, and that was the way that it was set up. But God originally designed it to have man and God be together, and God hates sin.
God is
abhors
man.
sin.
Right? God is man. Man is God. God is man. Like we are all God divided up, experiencing itself because God got tired
Let
of
us
like
create
being
man in our image.
right. You know what I mean?
You're onto
So-
something. I don't know if exactly I believe that, but I know what you're saying. God created man in His image. I am not the son of God, because
You are.
Hold on, I am a son of God. I'm a child of God. Yes, absolutely. But the difference is that Jesus said, "I am God."
You are God too. God lives.
God lives in me. Yes, He
Yes,
does.
and God lives in every single thing. And so, I think like what I not get triggered or whatever, just like have an opinion or thought. I don't really even say this out loud or to anybody because it's like there's no point in getting into anyone. You don't argue about religion or politics, right? But
Most people have no idea what they're following anyway.
so some diehard Christians are like, they're just like, no, Jesus is God or whatever, and like I think that there's like a separation, like. Because I think like a conflict is right. It's like you shouldn't idolize false gods, and like so maybe Jesus was like the first celebrity, and so like if you acknowledge that Jesus is God, just like you're God, we're all the same God, and there's no reason to put him on a pedestal. That's why Jewish people don't put him on a pedestal. Jewish people are like, that's Jesus. He's one of us. Like, you know, we could all do that if we choose to. If you meditated, if you loved, if you had faith the same level that Jesus did, to walk on water, to perform miracles, and to like bypass space and time, like, you know, here's your fucking your crop, it's yielded, like just by waving your hand. Like if you believe that, you would be able to do it. So I guess all that to say is that Jesus was a Jew and the Jews loved Jesus, and I just hate when Christians like try to like act like Jesus is God because we're all God. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? Or like, what are your thoughts?
No, I mean, I think there's.
I was on a
I think
random
there's,
rant.
No, you're fine. I think there's a distinction. I think Jesus, the reason why he was put on a cross by the Romans was because of blasphemy. So the leaders of the day there, and the Jewish leaders of the day, said that Jesus said that he was God. He claimed that he was God. But you know, Deuteronomy 6:4 says that there is no God before me, no God after me, nor shall there ever be one in the future. So when Jesus said that I am, he was quoting, I don't know the exact verse, but he was quoting that he is God. So that's why blasphemy, they killed him.
So it was like the Jewish leaders that killed him?
Yeah.
So
and it was a Roman punishment, but they on
the powers that be at that time.
day they would allow a prisoner to go, and they would that was a Jewish tradition. They would allow a prisoner to go, and that was
the Last Supper. Or whatever,
Right? Barabbas. They let Barabbas go, who was a murderer, who was a thief, and he was a rapist apparently. And they let him go, and they riled up the crowd to get and put Jesus away because he caused trouble.
Yeah,
And
I mean that's
I actually kind of like that. I'm like I kind of identify with that. Like, I've gotten pretty much kicked out of churches before.
Yeah,
a couple times, right? I've gotten kicked out of ministries where I don't obviously go like aggressively, but I really think that people don't understand what in the heck they're following.
That's true, and that's
the whole blind faith thing is bizarre to me, and I don't know why, because it's so intriguing and there's so much power in it.
Right.
Like with that clarity, that truth that will set you free. I mean, it's like, bro, it's like freeing.
That's kind of, I guess, what I was saying is like when, like the blind faith, like Christians who don't really even understand what they're following, and then they condemn on like, because you aren't praising Jesus, like whatever, and it's like more of a condemning vibe, like feel. So, that's kind of what I guess like I was trying to address. I don't know if I did it. I'm still getting good at it.
Either way, it's the problem. There's still a problem that even in the Judeo-Christian foundation is that there is a problem. There is a problem with mankind, and that is sin. That sin has separated us from God. And how do we get right with God? In Jewish tradition, it's you got to follow the 10 Commandments and follow the 613 laws. When you follow those, then you're in God's favored, right?
Yeah, the mitzvah.
Okay. So, but in Christianity, the difference is that Jesus, the perfect Son of God, the perfect being, fully man, fully God, was the only one that could pay the penalty of the price of sin and the sacrifice of sin and death, which is like the lamb or the ram, however, whatever part of the Bible you're looking at. The lamb, the blemished, the unblemished lamb or the unblemished dove that came. And the only downside was that I have with Jews is that they think I'm an idiot, and I think they're blind. So all through Isaiah, through all the Old Testament, especially through Isaiah, that it all points to the Mashiach, the Messiah, right? But they initially, especially back then, thought the Mashiach would come in and be this guy riding on a horse instead of an idiot riding on a donkey, right? Not that Jesus is an idiot, but that's what they thought he was, right? So they didn't even think that. So, he was, Jesus was not anything special, but the Jews thought that he was going to be special. And the hard part is that it's just like, even you bring it even further back to this, like to atheists that don't believe that there's an intelligent creator. You're like, dude, that's very hard for me to believe. Even
who? Atheists?
Yeah, people that don't believe that there's a God, people that don't believe there's an intelligent design. Like we're just here, like we're in, whatever. Like that to me is. Again, I don't think they're crazy. I just think that they're lost.
Yeah,
I just think that they're blind. Like, how can you not see science? I mean, all of the stuff that's happened as far as like biology, how we function. Yeah. The animals. I mean, everything. So it comes down to either way. There's a problem. The problem is that we have sinned against God, and how do we get there? Again, Jews believe that you need to follow the 10 Commandments and follow the 613 laws. Christians believe that if you have faith in the Mashiach that paid for the penalty of your sin, that you can get in. The hard part about that is, and I can keep going, Muslims believe in the pillars, and you have to follow those. The Mormons believe do enough that then you will be saved. Then you will have, what is it called? Like not paradise, but
I don't know.
Basically
enlightenment,
right?
Yeah.
Enlightenment, right?
Well, in the Jewish tradition, there's no like sin and there's no devil and there's no hell. There's no like saving. It's just like you're in a higher vibrational alignment with God. Like the closer you are, like if you follow all the rituals, you're in a higher resonance where like Hashem can communicate through you and you could like resonate through. So that like, but every religion has their own like rituals, and I think that's just it's just really like in connection, whatever ritual, whatever religion has is to get closer to God, to connect higher in the frequency, to feel better, to feel more enlightened, empowered, saved, whatever the case may be. But circling back to that, I guess it doesn't even matter, but like just for some viral clips maybe, like what's your take on the Hamas Israel situation?
Let me go back before we do that, 'cause I don't mind talking about that. I've studied it enough. I've watched, oh my God, too many. Not too many, like a lot, but I've watched too many where I don't want to watch those videos anymore. Let me go back to the Christians that are extremely judgmental. Number one, the Bible says very clearly that you are not to judge the outside world, but you are. And I stand in the red letters. If the way that Jesus did it, I'm going to do it the way that Jesus did it.
Right.
Okay. And if it's not the way that Jesus did it, that's my mentor. That's my coach, bro.
Yeah.
I don't know who your coach is.
Right.
Like they're looking at like old Saul, which is Paul of the New Testament, right? Wrote like 13 of the New Testament books. Like they look at old Paul, which is Saul, like was killing Christians, and like there's the same thing that they're belittling people for not believing what they believe, and like how does that, like, buddy, how's that working for you? And the problem is that hurt people, so that when you have Christians or anybody in any religion, Muslims, Judaism, Mormonism, like all of these, right? It's because they're hurt. They're looking for significance. They're looking for love. They're looking for connection. They're looking for certainty, uncertainty. They're looking for those 6 human needs that we have. And when you don't have that, that's when you start to go lash out at people as if they're the problem, when in reality the Bible says, Jesus says, look, you better take the log out of your eye before I take the speck out of my eye. And the problem is that a lot a lot of Christians, they don't realize that Jesus was an advocate. And he tried to teach us that you can't be going and like hating on people, man. Like if that's like, if a lot of people turned me off from Christianity when I was just getting into the church, really like starting 2012, starting to get into the church mainly like full time. Because, dude, like they're like, oh my God, you were a drug addict. You dealt drugs. You were a drug addict. I can't believe it. Your story's crazy. You're kind of like, stay away from us. We don't know if you're gonna like go back. And I'm like, wait, like I thought we were loving and accepting. I thought you accepted me because of who I was. Like, like come as I am. I got to be cleaned up. And like that is not what Jesus wanted. If he was dead, which he's not. If he would, that's what I believe. If he was dead, which he's not, he'd be rolling in his grave right now, metaphorically speaking. He's probably pissed off anyway, but you get the point. I mean, he's
not pissed, bro. Jesus was like the most loving man that ever walked this earth.
Yeah, but he flipped tables, man. He gets pissed off, when people are not following when they twist the rules of God. He says that I don't come to change the laws. I come to fulfill the law.
Yeah, and I mean that.
Let's talk about
ultimately.
Hamas,
Ultimately.
Scene. No.
Scene. Cut. We got enough clips for that on that topic. I forgot what I was going to say. Ultimately, those people that are accepting and have conditions and whatever, it's just karma. It's just like they will see that in their reflected back in them, right? So like maybe they don't like that because it's something that they see in themselves, whatever the case may be. But one thing to do is just like one thing that really helps me is it's like we're all one, right? Like if you look at like all of us on earth, we're one organism. So we're like, and if you take this situation of we're God divided experiencing ourselves, like you are me and I am you, just through different experiences of life that we've had. That's what separates our consciousness and our thoughts or whatever. So like sometimes if someone cuts me off or whatever, I just try to be like, oh fuck, well that's me if I was having that type of day or whatever, like that's
you
what
I
would
do that.
I know.
You do that now? You're cool with it now?
No, I mean just with car or with everything. Like some weird shit happened today. Two things which I was like, I rationalized it as like it's the holiday season. People
Tensions
generally,
are high, man,
generally. I think the majority of the population didn't have a great year. People are defaulting on loans, credit cards, income wasn't the same, the funny money ran out. It's the holidays, it's pressure, there's pressure, and it's the end of the year, and everyone's like, this year was fucked, and even though no one's like vocally expressing it. But I feel like I have the humility, like I had a really downward trajectory year where like everything kind of like fell apart, and the slate was cleaned and now I'm able to rebuild, but it was painful and it was a valuable lesson, and a lot of good came from it. But people are maybe not as self-aware of like what their situation is, and so they're lashing out with hate based on like the frustration and the pressure. And so we were at downtown Summerlin. I need a hard drive at the Apple Store, whatever. I took the family out, girls get lunch, whatever, and we're going today. This happened. And this dude and like a 12-year-old daughter or something are crossing the street. Something like happened between this guy and the driver. Like literally we're crossing the street behind them. I don't know what's happening, right? The guy's like, whatever, and then the guy across the street's like, what'd you say to me? Like runs up on the car. The dude like rolls his window down. He's like, stay in your lane, buddy. And like fucking they whatever. And then we go into the coffee shop and get our drinks or whatever. We're sitting there eating. And then the dude that was in front of us walking on the sidewalk walks in, and like the guy that was in the car, I didn't even realize this until the altercation happened. He's like ordering, and he's like, oh, so you want me to stay in my lane? Like with a daughter with him, dude, like pressing the situation, like sitting there, what do you want to do about it? And the guy's like, we can solve this however you want. These are old dudes, like 40-year-old guys, bro, 40 plus. And I'm like baffled, like, wow, this guy's really with his daughter going out of his way to find a problem. And then what's crazier, I'm like, I don't like the energy in here. Let's go, whatever. The guy like gets called up at the barista's like, can I help you? The other guy's like waiting, like, yeah, this guy's done. And I'm like, he's waiting for him. I'm like, what's gonna happen? What's gonna come from that? Nothing valuable, like, you know what I mean? Then we get home and some lady, like, we get out of the car, drives by us, like, I know what you did, bitch, to like Judy. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like randomly. So I walk out front because she's out there, and I'm like, can I help you with something? What's going on? She's like, I know where you live now. And I'm like, what the fuck is happening, right? And so I think that this is, again, from my perspective, instead of getting riled up or jammed up with the anger and like not seeing clearly.
Where you live?
Yeah. I was like, well, I got guns and shit, bitch, so come over. Like, you know,
Come on in.
but that's like, somehow, like, I tried to remove myself from that situation. Was like, look, this guy, he's a really angry guy. He's probably going through a divorce. That's why he's by himself with his daughter. It's probably been a hard year. He's like lashing out, and he's just like something
Didn't
that
hit
he
his
just needs to
Christmas
express.
bonus.
Whatever his situation, like maybe I would have felt like that if I was in his situation, right? So instead of feeling hatred towards him or any type of animosity, I'm like, I might have done the same thing. So I try to send love that way. I feel bad like that he's experiencing that. Same with the lady. Like, you don't know, like maybe she didn't get her kids this Christmas or whatever the case is, or Hanukkah or whatever. Hanukkah's over, but you don't know the pain that people are experiencing, and they just don't know how to deal with it, and so they lash out in a way. And so if you take Jesus's approach and like love everyone as yourself, as a creature of God, as an organism in which we are all part of, you can make the world a better place, or just make that interaction, like, you don't have to get riled up. Because when you get boiled up, and you get fucking boiled up, like, I don't care what out of the situation is, it's out of love, but you don't think clearly. Like, you're thinking from a state of the fire. You're like in the inferno and making decisions and taking actions out of that energy that isn't necessarily who you really truly are as a creature of God or whatever. So, so Jesus, I think, is a really someone that you could look up to, and he is a valuable instructor, and there's a lot of valuable lessons in like the Christhood and like living as him as a role model. I think that my only bone with the like, and it's anybody, right? Like the condemners and like the, you don't believe that as I do, so condemn on you. But that goes around anywhere, right?
Yeah, it's like anybody else, even in business, the same
Right.
way. Like, you're a loser because you drive a Corolla.
Yeah.
You know, you're a loser. You don't have these shoes. You don't have this watch. You don't have this whatever.
Wedding ring, nice wedding ring, bro. By the way,
Thank you.
where'd you get it?
Same story you got yours from. Yeah, you know, I don't know, man. I do know. I have very obviously strong opinions on this, but you know, I'm the last one. I always try to walk like 5 or 6 miles in somebody else's shoes before I judge them, and it's easy for me to judge somebody because, you know, I'm the one that put in all the work. Like I
Right.
put in, especially with like at the time my
business.
sales reps, right? Like, it's easy for me to yell at somebody and be like, "Oh, you think that I just got here because I didn't knock on the doors? You think that was you think this is?" I was the one. I was alone knocking for years.
Right.
Years. And now you want to come at me like you can't knock doors? Come on, buddy. But yeah, no, I don't know, man. I like to really try to be patient with people, just because, you know, I'm you know, a lot of times they say, you know, you're the only scripture that someone's going to read. And I try to do my best, man. Obviously, I'm not perfect at it, but I don't use that as an example or as a leeway for, you know, being an idiot, because, you know, I often make mistakes. But you're right. I do it out of love, but I really think that, you know, something I've learned from my dad is that I will not do and I refuse to do. And I have people like you in my corner, my wife, other people in my corner, the dudes in my corner, that call me out if they see when I'm ever like trying to be like, oh yeah, well, like, I had good intentions. I believe good intentions are the road to hell, dude. Like, I don't believe in that. Well, I had good intentions. Well, you just told me that I was at this, and this. You had good intentions? Come on, buddy. Yeah, I mean, constructive criticism is a lot different. So, yeah, if you don't have a faith, I think it's important that you figure it out and dial it in. I asked if there was a God on a beach in San Diego in 2011, and I said, God, if you're real, just show up. You know, show me who you are. There's all these. Everyone says Jesus, so is that who you are? Okay, if it's not, then like, I don't want to waste my time.
Yeah.
And just be careful who you what you ask for, because, you know, it'll show up.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, bro,
one way or another, and a lot of times it's not in the way that you think it's gonna show up.
no, dude. And so, like, you know, I study and, like, I'm a huge fan of, like, esoteric teachings and, like, the universal laws. And I think that's all kind of connected to, like, God in a sense, right? Like, if God
created them.
Yeah, exactly. But you use a
Creator of
lot.
all things, he created all of them too.
So, yeah. Let's segue a bit. Well, I don't know.
Let me end it here. The only thing that I'm a hard no on is the law of non-contradiction. Something cannot be and be at the same exact time. That is
What? Okay, hold on. Elaborate.
the law of non-contradiction.
Can you elaborate on that, please?
Jesus cannot be God and not be cannot be God and not be God at the same time. That door cannot be open and shut at the same time. In quantum physics, quantum realm, that door can be shut and open at the exact same time. My reality, what's outside of the four walls right here, we don't know what in the world's going on. I don't know where my wife's at, where your daughter's at, where your grandparents are at, your parents are at, your wife's at. We don't know where they're at. No, that's like the whole like cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. You ate a little too much Cheerios growing up.
Wait, I was following that though. Like that's true. It is true. That's like so you're saying that you don't like
where I stop is the law of non-contradiction.
Which is like what
Something
you were
cannot
describing
be
is like
and not be at the same time.
Quantum physics is what you're like referring to?
Yeah, the quantum realm, which I believe God also created.
Well,
by the
that's
way.
not true because you could be a fucking asshole and you could be loving and caring and affectionate at the same time. Like you're the same like entity harboring those energies. So like that's contradicting.
How?
Because you just said those two things can not be. I guess I get what you're saying. Is like they can't be at the same time. Like you can't be loving and hating at the same time.
I guess maybe in an emotional sense, I suppose, but you can't be yelling and being quiet at the same time. Is I think is more or less what I'm trying to go for. Rather than I can't be, like the background behind, the intention behind it, me yelling, but me being intentionally and loving. I think is not what I'm talking about there. It's more of like I can't yell and be quiet at the same time.
I think that in this three-dimensional realm, that is probably like a true law, where like two things can't coexist. But like beyond the like 3-dimension, I think that there's like Jesus could technically.
There's more.
Have you studied
there's
time?
More. There's more than we understand. Dude.
Yeah, like have you ever
way
tried
more
to
than we
read a
understand.
book on time? Like that shit is fucking nuts. I like literally try to study the shit, and I just get like to this point, and then I lose it. I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like trying to circle back, and it like starts talking about all that stuff. How like time is not linear. Everything can exist at the same time. The simplest like concept to try to understand around time is like the.
I got you. I'll bring you back. So tell me about the Newton's law.
Oh yeah, so the theory of relativity is so like if you put your hand on a stove for a minute, it feels like an hour. If you're like talking with like courting with a girl that you like, you talk for an hour, it feels like a minute. And that's like the easiest concept to try to like conceptualize, but it goes like so far beyond that. It's like
for instance, like this year, how did this year go by so fast?
Right,
not to me, it didn't go by fast. I'm like, no, I was very present in this year. I'm like, I felt every bump in the road.
Yeah, this year was
every acceleration, every slow down, every bump. Most people they just go through.
No, this year was this was a year where like either you made it and survived, you thrived, so or you didn't. Like a lot of businesses died. Like I don't want to name names, but there's some businesses that died, did not make it. LLC ceases to exist, and then there's some that like barely fucking scraped by, and then there's the ones that are like neutral, and then some people thrived, which is very little. You're probably the only person that's told me like this year that you fucking crushed it. Everybody else,
yeah, we did really well.
So that's fun.
But I prepared for this. Here's the thing. In 2019, I knew that these years were going to come,
and they're upon us. You know what I mean?
I was looking for, what's ironic is that I set myself up. I knew it would happen before that, but I really started like preparing in 2019. I knew that they would eventually come. So instead of going out and making much money and buying, expensive cars, which I could afford, expensive watches, which I could afford, taking a lot of vacations, which I could afford, I just continued to buy proximity and buy coaching. And invested the rest. 40 to 60% of every dollar that came in was invested, and that got me to almost $21,000 a month in passive income with just from that door knocking. I got up to 31. It's back down to 24 now because I've sold some properties and things and assets. But I prepared for this to happen, and then I went in and said, okay, when the shitstorm hits the fan, if you will, what products are going to be recession proof? Not that solar is not recession proof. It is, but solar was only a vehicle for me to get to a point where I'm at now to get into private equity, and now I'm selling picks and shovels, man, and like everybody wants to know how to become recession proof. Everybody that I know in the door space, in the real estate space, private equity space, even no one has a clue what they're doing with their money. They all act like they do, but if you get into a room, they'll actually, when no cameras on, they'll tell you they have no clue what the fuck they're doing.
So the reason I really like that.
That's why I started a coaching program around that.
Yeah.
And that's why all my social media, everything, every article I write, every blog post I have, everything that I do has something around how to break these generational curses that we have and break these cycles and help men understand to master money and then to a point where they can master life. And you want to master life, but you have to master money first.
Yeah, I think it's super and crucial. Like, people say, like, money doesn't buy happiness, and that's true, but they're, like, basic needs that I believe that need to be met, and I think having, like, access to unlimited money, whatever that means to you, is an essential, like, to live a really, truly fulfilled life.
Yeah.
Love, wife, family, kids. I didn't say that's honestly, for me, that's all it is, really. Some sort of purpose and fulfillment, like, leading. Yeah. I'm sure you know a lot more about that. I'm still like a rookie into getting into like these newer levels. But yeah, I noticed like leading a team and like helping them and like making sure they're taken care of and like, no, I'm not saying I like drastically change their lives, but like improve their quality of life a bit has been like one of the most rewarding aspects for me in like kind of like to the next levels of things. So
I want to know more about my leadership. I want to know some stories
about your shit.
Yeah, I don't really get to learn about it until years later. It's like when I was in baseball, I didn't really get.
All right. All right. So you said you didn't learn about being a goof until years later.
Yeah, it's funny. It's fun learning about my. When I'm in it, I don't really, I guess, realize, but
like what you're doing and stuff.
Yeah, no, I mean I do, but it's cool to hear stories because from your point of view, what you see and your experience is different than what I see, obviously.
Right.
So I do want to know some stories about my leadership and what you've seen because you obviously were there. One, we used to work together, and two, you would film a lot of my trainings and one-on-ones and all that stuff. So tell me some crazy
My perspective,
stories. Some crazy stories that you saw, heard, or whatever.
Okay, first of all, I know you for a long time, and I've stick with you through like most of every transition, and we've gotten into it with each other, but always have maintained like a relationship and like stayed cool. So also, so there's that. So I feel like I could see things from an outside perspective, but not just with you, just like I'm around a lot of fucking organizations and people, and my job is literally to document and observe what's going on and just take it in through my perspective. So like,
and then tell the story, which is what your product is.
Yeah, which is the video or whatever. So but with you, just like going back to the old days, there's a lot of benefit. Like you have a lot of masculinity, and there's a lot of benefit if you hold people's feet to the fire. And I think there's like a finesse to it, and like you don't finesse it. You're just like feet to the fire, talk to people like absurdly, like you fucking piece of shit, loser, fuck. Like
I do.
I don't know. I not those exact words, but like have said things like that to people in front of me where I'm like, yo, that was a little bit out of line, bro. You probably shouldn't say that to people. That's gonna hurt somebody's feelings, And so. But I think that it always came from good intentions, and you've gotten fucking sideways with me as well, and like I feel like I like reciprocate your energy, and so we like argue or fight about it, and then I'm like fuck you, you're like fuck you, and I'm like all right, whatever, and then it's like it ends there. I don't harbor like personal energy and like send hatred out. But some people I could see where like if you give them that tough love and they're like not prepared or like ready to be hit with that. It could like you said, it creates some resentment in the moment, and then years later people are like, yo, you really had good intentions. And all right, so how do you feel? Yeah, you ask people if let's pick up from
there. So I don't know, dude, like my thing is that I feel like I was one of the most patient people out there when it comes to leadership. Number one, I didn't think I was a great manager, and I know that. I openly admitted that. Tell people I'm not a great manager. And I think that might be where I would slip at. When I had to manage people, I didn't do well. But as far as leading people, I would ask every single one of them. I'd help them design what their next, 14 hours, 14 days, 14 years, 45 years looked like. And when they would tell me, I'm committed to this, and I would say, are you sure? And they would say, I am sure. Then I would hold their feet to the fire, and I don't care about hurting somebody's feelings because I would say, hey man, just so you know, you're not letting me down. You're not even really letting the team down. Even if they were letting the team down, would be true. Is you're letting down your mom, your daughter, your son, your uncle, your cousin. You're letting down your community. You're letting your country back home that you want to send money back to. Like you're not letting me down. You're letting them down. So don't. Like I'm just here to just be the messenger and be the conduit to say, if you want this, here's exactly the blueprint, which was for us at the time was knocking on doors, selling solar panels. This is exactly how we do this. And anybody, as you already mentioned earlier in the show, that did it, it worked
It's still
in
working.
one of the hardest markets to sell solar in, which is here in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
Okay. And it worked and still works today. I could go out right now and knock, 54 doors and get 4 appointments, and one of those is going to close. Two of those are going to close. One of those is going to install. Right? That's the numbers. It is what it is. You can't deny the numbers. The numbers are just speak for themselves. But when somebody would start to disrespect their family because of the goals that they set, because they wouldn't be willing to put the work in, but they fucking talked all the time, that's what pissed me off, dude. That was crossing the line, dude, because it wasn't me. Yeah. I don't care. Sure, we made money on overrides. Majority of that I put right back in the company, dude.
Right.
I didn't make $1 million on overrides.
Yeah.
Most of that stuff went back in the company, right back into the company. Okay? What I didn't respect was when these guys would tell me they wanted something, and then battery inside of that.
Yeah. All right.
No, that's what I would be, and that's what it was, and I wouldn't like when you told me, and I got to understand who your family, your wife was, your kids were, that you weren't willing to put the work in just because it was hard.
Yeah.
I don't like when men stray away from hard work.
Yeah, that's you got to do that.
You got to suffer now or suffer later.
Mikey, it's been freaking real. I'm so grateful that you're able to come over here and chop up the shit with me. Where can the people find you?
Instagram, Mikey Lucas with the blue check.
Google.
Or LinkedIn, Google, MikeyLucas.com, AmericanEnergyFund.io.
Amazon Books.
Yep. Purposeful Profit. I've got a book out there. Sign up for the webinars, man. Sign up for the newsletters. I write blogs every single week. We got a magazine that goes out around energy, investing in energy. I want to democratize the energy industry and help guys like yourself, your family, and guys that are listening to your and girls that are listening to your show here be able to invest like a billionaire, not like a millionaire.
Let's freaking go. There, you heard it from the horse's mouth himself. Mikey Lou, it's been real. Peace.